very, very special episode today that we have for you because we have a special guest, super special guest.
Hey, I'm Josh. I'm a very good friend of Claire and Jaden. Yeah, I also love movies. We see movies a lot, and they invited me to be on the podcast. And of course, when they asked, I said yes pretty instantly. So.
And this was perfect because Parasite is one of Josh's favorite movies.
Absolutely, I've seen it. I watched it last night for the podcast. It was my 6th time. It was the movie that got me into movies and filmmaking in the first place. Ooh. And yeah, I probably would not be here if I never saw Parasite.
The movie ever.
Yeah, I fucking love that movie.
We're continuing our celebration of Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Real.
So it all just fits together so nicely.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Josh, is there anything else you wanted to tell us about yourself?
Give me like your top.
Your major?
Yeah, your top movies.
Okay, so major film and TV, just like Jaden and Claire minor, but focus in documentary filmmaking. Favorite movies right now, say Punch Drunk Love, Paul Thomas Anderson is probably my favorite. Columbus, directed by Kaganada. Went into a Wong Kar-wai recently. I love In the Mood for Love, Chungking Express. And, I guess fitting in with their theme for Asian American Month, I should give us some shout-outs to some anime movies, also because we're going to talk about Ponyo later.
Real.
I love Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, The End of Evangelion, Akira. So those are my favorites.
Slay.
Yes. Cool. All right. What have we been watching lately as of the last few weeks or so?
Let me rip open the letterbox. I can never remember anything that I watched. Yeah. Even though I've been on kind of my little grind recently.
I've been really, really on a grind.
Jade and I accidentally watched 3 rom-coms in one day. Oops.
Were they at least good ones?
Some of them.
Depending on how you look at it.
Okay.
I had a good time.
Well, what were they?
Kate and Leopold.
Yes.
Legendary movie. You've Got Mail.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which was insane. And Imagine Me and You, which was also insane.
The rom-com of
ever.
Yeah.
Slay.
No, I have so many mixed feelings.
Well, you're allowed to, but keep in mind that it was from 2005.
I still gave it 4 stars.
Kate and Leopold is my underground rom-com, the best
so
rom-com
good
ever.
Like, if you don't like that, you don't know how to have fun. Like, I'm sorry.
I will add it to my watch list.
Oh my God, Jane and I went to the premiere of About My Father, the new Robert De Niro movie.
And you'll never guess who we saw 10 feet away from us.
The one and only
Robert De Niro.
Robert the fucking Niro.
I can't believe that happened.
I was freaking out. Also, David Rash from Succession. I actually shit my pants.
That was actually insane.
But I don't know, peak movie recently. I watched Kajillionaire for the first time, and I thought it was really good.
I liked it. It was good.
I thought it was fantastic.
What about you, Josh?
Yeah, I have been watching a decent amount of movies lately, pretty everything across the spectrum. One I want to talk about and recommend to everyone because I saw it at the Chicago Critics Film Festival, and it's coming to theaters on June 2nd, and it's better than almost everything else I've seen this year. It's a new A24 film called Past Lives.
Ooh.
I've
seen that. Yeah. I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
It's a romance about 2 people who grew up together in Korea, and then at the age of 12, one of them moved to America, and then 12 years later, they reconnect over Skype. And then another 12 years later, they reconnect again because the guy from Korea comes to America to visit her, and they have a meet cute, they catch up and everything. And I don't want to get too much into the details, so that's pretty much the point. Plot wise, it's a lot like When Harry Met Sally, specifically like the different timelines.
And it eats because it's so like real and relatable.
No, exactly. And Past Lives is the exact same way. Like if you want a movie with real characters, real plot, and dialogue that feels like it genuinely came from the heart, Past Lives is for you. So yeah, I would compare it to When Harry Met Sally. In the Mood for Love comes to mind. One that the director, I also met the director at the Q&A. She was a very nice lady. She mentioned My Dinner with Andre. So all those. And yeah, I know it's an easy watch. It's heartfelt. It's sweet and personal, beautifully made. It's coming out on June 2nd. Check it out in a theater near you because it's better than everything else in theaters right now.
Oh, shit.
Yes. Okay. With that, I think we should just go right into this movie because I feel like we might talk about it for a while.
Yeah.
Literally top movie. One of the movies ever. Directed by the one and only Bong Joon-Ho.
Yeah. It stars the legendary Song Kang-ho, also Lee Sun-kyun, Cho Ya-jung, Choi Woo-shik, Park So-dam, Jung Hae-jin, Park Myung-hoon, and Lee Jung-yeon. And I apologize if I butchered any of those names.
We did do our best to research how to say everything.
We did.
Anyway, absolutely stacked fucking cast. Fun fact, right out the fucking gate, the dude who plays like the main dad,
Song Kang-ho.
Bong Joon-Ho, he said that if he said no to the movie, then it wasn't going to be made. That's how bad he wanted him to play.
Ooh, okay.
He really fits that character, like both physically and personally.
Yeah, and you know what? I agree.
All right. The Kim family lives in a semi-basement and struggles to keep food on the table. They take odd jobs for cash, like folding pizza boxes, and they rely on unprotected Wi-Fi networks and street cleaning pesticides to keep their home insect-free. Ki-woo, the son, is gifted a scholar's stone by a friend and given a recommendation for a tutoring job with a wealthy family. Ki-woo and his sister Ki-jung forge credentials for the job and thus begin the long con that sees each member of the Kim family infiltrating the upper-class Park family one by one. So we'll get through that one.
It's okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So what did we like and dislike about this movie?
I like everything about
I
this
like
movie.
almost everything about it, to the point where like there are like minor things that aren't good about it, but the rest of it is like I say minor, like super tiny, like plot details or like inconsistencies. I'm trying to remember. I know that they're just like stupid things, you know, it's like how clumsy the family is when they fall down the stairs and then they realize who everyone is. And there's like some plot, like I feel like everything goes a little bit too smoothly, but at the same time, like I don't care in the grand scheme of things, because like that's just like nitpicking, and the impact the movie has and like what it's trying to say massively overshadows any tiny nitpicks you could have.
Yeah, I agree. Or like how the pesticides didn't kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah, what the fuck? It would have killed them all.
Or like when in the basement when the water's flooding, like you'd think that the water is all electrified. Kenzie shocked himself on the window, but again, like who cares?
Who cares?
It's not in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, and it's realistic enough. Like it's real enough that it doesn't even matter. Like,
It's all forgivable.
and also stuff like, you know, when we're watching the movie, I'm like, okay, well, why doesn't this family have security cameras in their house? They absolutely would. But how fucking boring would that have been? Obviously.
Right.
So
yeah,
like,
seriously.
And then it can fit into the plot.
Yeah.
You can warp it so it's like, oh, they're so rich that.
Or they're so like rich that they almost have like a naivety about it.
Like,
Like
well, and they're gullible as hell.
That literally, yeah.
Leave their doors unlocked.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, no. Like the mom is the park mom is flighty. The park dad has like a massive sense of overconfidence to himself. It's like they have like I don't want to say God complex, but they have like such a strong sense of like we're immune because we're rich.
Yeah, and it's like the unconscious part is like what's so interesting. It's like it's not even like a God complex. It's just they assume nothing will ever happen to them. It doesn't even cross their mind.
And also they're also just not that smart in some ways. Like after between when the first housekeeper is fired and when the Kim family mom is hired, you know, it's like that. You know, they talk about how the dishes stack up and the park father. The park father complains about how his wife, he loves his wife, but she can't cook for shit.
He says we'll call it love.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, they basically all say, you know, it's like as much as they think they're immune, they rely entirely on the work of other people to help their family function.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like none of them actually rely on each other because they're all looking for somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
True.
And yeah, I think building off of that, one big character aspect of the movie that I really love that I had noticed this time in particular is how underestimated the Kim family is. That starts off, you underestimate them, and then, you know, you kind of start to realize maybe are they the heroes? By the end of the movie, you realize everyone's kind of equal. And what I love also is that Bong doesn't like vilify anyone. He does a really good job at like kind of objectively showing each situation, letting you form your own opinion. But at the same time, though, he's also making a social statement. You know, it's like this all happens because of, you know, the socio-political climate in South Korea and the rising poverty levels. Because Bong Joon-ho himself, after he graduated college, he said in an interview, he lived in a basement house for like all of the 90s. Like he was living off of like one bag of rice a day trying to make it as a filmmaker. So a lot of the movie, specifically the Kim family, comes from his own personal experience.
Yeah.
And I think like you can absolutely tell. You can just tell when somebody has a personal connection to something. Like, it reminds me of like the stairs motif in the movie, which I found out was a nod to Alfred Hitchcock, and there are multiple nods to him throughout. Apparently, when I was doing my little trivia research, obviously like what stands out to me the most with the stairs is that one scene towards the end where their house is flooding, like right before that, and they're walking they have to run out the house and walk all the way back down to where they are,
yeah.
which is obviously
like the lowest of like society.
Exactly.
No, the way the movie uses infrastructure and architecture, like it's
good.
thematic, it's emotional, and visually it's stunning.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love how you mentioned Hitchcock, because I don't remember if someone else brought this up to me or Bong himself said it, but the movie has a lot of references to Rear Window in it.
Yeah.
And that being one of those.
And funny you mentioned the architecture, because I found out that, well, actually both of the houses, like the basement and the Parks house, were completely like built and designed from scratch. And especially the Parks house. And I was even reading, they're super, like the detail is insane. In the Kim's house, it's apparently shaped like a T, or like a T-junction house, which apparently is a road formation that I guess is said to like, it's like it can either lead to extreme poverty or extreme wealth. And I was like, bruh.
I get what you're saying.
Even the shape of the house he's focused on, how that, oh my God, like so good. And
it's
apparently
insane, yeah.
when the production designer was consulting an actual architect to design the Parks house, which I believe the whole first floor was totally built. And then the second floor, I think, was CG or something.
Yeah. I think how
and then a soundstage.
Yeah, you're right that the first floor was completely built, and then like for the exteriors they used CGI to design it, and then the second floor of the house was a soundstage. You're right.
Yeah,
That's
and
really
like
crazy.
I know, right?
Like the combination.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the architect saw the sketches of the house, and he was like, "No idiot would build a house this way." That's what he said. This is ridiculous. But I love the use of lines in the movie to separate, even like that motif of like crossing the line.
Oh,
Apparently,
yeah.
they always use actual lines throughout the film to know when a character has crossed the line, because it's
Exactly.
such a huge part, like underlying kind of part in the movie, which is so interesting.
Yeah, because the first time you're watching it, it doesn't really come to mind until Mr. Park says in the car, he says, he loves the housekeeper because she knew to never cross the line. I hate people who cross the line. And then you watch it again multiple times and you realize there's also a lot of visual motifs. Like specifically when Kiwoo, or Kevin, American name, first is visiting the house for the first tutoring session with a daughter, when he's looking out at the housekeeper waking up the Park mom, there's a line in the window that divides the housekeeper and Mrs. Park. And as she's like crossing the line to wake up, it's like it visually divides them. And I recognize that again when Mr. Kim, Song Kang-ho, is hired and he's going to pick up Mr. Park from where he works. There's a line in the window dividing the two of them. And the most stunning one to me is Dasong, the Park kid's flashback. How I forgot the name of the housekeeper's husband, the maniac the maniac at the end. But when he's like creeping up, his eyes like creep over and look at him.
That's the scariest scene in the entire movie.
It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. And
in
also
the entire movie.
And also like as he like looks over the stairs, it's like he's crossing the line.
The ultimate line. Bro, that is the most unsettling scene in the entire movie.
It's terrifying.
It can just be a screenshot. I'm terrified.
If I was that child and I saw that, I would never recover. Like,
I'd have a seizure too.
I would be thinking, like, that would be in my mind for the rest of my entire life.
Yeah. If I were to ever make a horror movie or like emulate a scene kind of like that, like I want to talk to Bong and like figure out like how, or like study the scene and like how did he frame this? How did he light it? How did he color correct it? Like I want to know what went into making the scene, because it's terrifying. This is how you make a terrifying scene.
Yeah, and I found out they did a black and white release of the film too, which
yeah,
he did because he like thinks it highlights the contrast between, well, like just in general as it like coloring, but like also for the themes, like it highlights the contrast between the families more deeply. And now I'm like, okay, now I want to watch the black and white one, but I'll have to wait a little bit.
I saw that in someone's Letterboxd review, and I was like, that kind of sounds good.
Literally.
When I first got the Criterion DVD, I did watch the black and white cut. And I will say, as cool as it was to see like the different stylistic contrast, there's so many colors in the movie that play a thematic role. Like the one that always comes to mind is the color red, both like for the blood, the hot sauce, the like certain clothes, certain details. So I feel like as cool as the black and white style is and how harrowing can be, especially during the scary scenes, I think there's so much work that went into like the color correction and like the purposeful use of color grading in the movie that I would honestly say I prefer the original.
I mean, I definitely prefer the original. Like, it's gorgeous.
I kind of want to watch the black and white one, but I have to wait a while.
It's absolutely worth watching once. Yeah.
All right, what else do we have in here? Do
Um,
we like the ending?
Yes, absolutely.
I agree. I don't know what would the alternative ending even be.
Well, I don't know. I was thinking of like all the details of the ending, like who died and who lived, and like I don't
Maybe
know.
They could have left that more like ambiguous.
Mhm.
Or like different people too. Like
True.
the sister died, and then
Yeah.
the son, or whatever.
How
the
Yeah.
did my
you know
man
what I'm
live?
talking about. How
I
did he
don't-
survive?
Well, brain surgery, but he got hit in the head by the Scholar's Rock twice. He had a glass of
I don't believe it.
what is it? I forgot the fruit, the plum extract. He had the glass like smashed on his head.
Mm-hmm.
So like
How could he afford that surgery?
I don't know. Yeah,
Literally.
and yeah, that is also. I don't know. I always go back and forth between the flashback and that scene being the scariest because I remember the first time I saw it in theaters when I first saw the shot of Kevin lying on the ground with the blood pouring on the ground and the rock.
Yeah, it's really good.
That stunned me silent. Like just I think one kind of building off of that, one of my favorite parts of the movie is how well Bong develops like human characters to the point where like he doesn't allow you to take sides. He lets you make your own opinion. But no matter what, he makes these characters so human and so relatable that even when you have someone who's super flawed like Kevin and you see an image of him lying down with blood pouring out of his head because he just got blunt force trauma, you are genuinely terrified for him.
Oh my god, yeah. I don't even think he's like. I don't think of him as a super flawed character. I don't know if that's me.
He's just doing what he has to do to like live.
I think
Yeah,
I noticed this time around he is I think he's the strongest. Specifically, it started at the beginning because if you remember the first conversation Kevin had with his rich friend, it's like his rich friend is like, oh, I'm hiring you to be the tutor because I don't trust any of my other friends from college to tutor her because those frat guys hounding her. He's basically subtly saying that you're not attractive enough to swoon her. And then he's like, you went to military, you failed the university exam 4 times, you know exactly what to do. He's like kind of like using his weaknesses and like history of like not getting into college like against him to like kind of manipulate him into taking the job. So like even from the very start, his rich friend is kind of an asshole. And it's like he masterminded the entire plan. He gets the entire family the jobs. As problematic as one might think it is, he does steal the daughter.
Okay, that is problematic.
Yeah, it is. But I think,
keep forgetting that.
Yeah, but I think at the same time that kind of contributes to the point of obviously I don't condone any of that by any means, but it contributes to the point where Bong is like trying to make everyone equal because because if
he didn't do that, then he'd be pretty much normal in my eyes.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel like one of the reasons it was included is to show like a kind of contrast his rich friend kind of assuming that he's not attractive enough for her and the fact that he does end up swooning her kind of like
not even at her level.
Yeah, exactly. He just kind of the fact that he does end up swooning her is kind of like proving, it's like we're people too, so don't treat us like lesser. Even if what we're doing isn't right, don't treat us like we don't have these capabilities.
No, exactly.
Have some more bonus episode stuff. Do you want to read that? Because you wrote it.
Well, we've gone over most of my little fun facts.
I like edited in Final Cut Pro 7.
Yeah, that's our...
it's really, really well
Final
edited,
Cut
too.
Pro 7. And it was nominated for Best Editing.
It deservedly so.
But it didn't win, which I read Bong Joon-Ho, that one, Best Editing, and then I want to say Best...
I think it was production design.
Yeah. It was. He said those were the 2 he was most proud of for getting the nomination, and those were the 2 that they didn't win. And I was like, no. Yeah. But clearly it's incredibly made. Final Cut Pro 7. Apparently, I read hasn't been supported since 2011, and on a computer that was not updated since 2014. This movie was edited, nominated for an Oscar.
And it's also one of the most visually stunning movies you could watch.
Literally.
So
that's why I hate when people are like, oh, I don't have the money. Girl.
Yeah.
That means you don't have the creativity.
It's like you can film on your
phone.
Like,
yeah, you
good
can.
Things are made on like...
It doesn't cost money to make art that establishes an emotional connection. You just need to have the heart and the motivation to make art. And even if you're just editing on like, Windows Movie Maker, filming on your iPhone, if you have like an honest story, it doesn't matter if you have money, you can still make a human connection.
Or wasn't Everything Everywhere All at Once also filmed on like one person's laptop?
No,
on, like,
yeah. The editing.
Yeah, the editing team was like 10 people.
It was like 5 fucking people.
It's not as impressive as this because I feel like that's still more impressive, but like even still.
I think they're both impressive in their own rights because
exactly,
Parasite is impressive because of how intricate and thematically satisfying everything plays out, but Everything Everywhere is just like so visually bombastic. The fact like I can't imagine like editing all those visual effects and everything. So I think I don't want to compare them. So I would just say they're both extremely impressive in their own rights.
And they're like like Everything Everywhere All at Once did win the editing Oscar.
Deservedly so.
And like it was.
I think the movie not relying in a bad way, but like the editing was more of a like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It
mattered more.
Really made it like the best that it could be.
Yeah, but yeah, they're not really comparable to me. Parasite, the pacing is like perfection.
It's
me.
phenomenal.
It's so
perfection.
It feels shorter than it actually is every single time.
Literally, yeah, you're literally right. And also I like that when I was doing some more reading, like Bong Joon-Ho was saying like he was inspired by tons of different films. I don't remember which ones, but like he likes movies with little to no exposition, and you kind of learn as you go, which is my favorite too.
Yes.
Because it also is totally immersive.
Yeah.
And it just engages you more. Like, I hate when movies do a whole big, like, oh, this is my life so far.
No, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that is one thing I actually do want to comment on. So I'm so glad you introduced it, but Bong Joon-ho does not infantilize the audience at all. He does a lot of visual storytelling, a lot of show don't tell. All the dialogue there's only dialogue when it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
And just like there's so much reliance on, your own emotion, and the fact that he did use visuals instead of dialogue also I think helps with how universal the film is despite not being in the English language.
Oh, exactly. And like I forget,
Yeah, like the two moments in particular that I really kind of realized, like they're kind of like more minor moments, but two moments I really realized like emphasize the show don't tell is the first time. I mean, it helps that having rewatched it, but the first time, or this past rewatch, the first time that Mr. Park is walking in the house and you see the lights go off, and you just kind of know the reason why, even though if you were watching it for the first time you'd have no idea why.
Yeah.
But on a rewatch you know that there's actually a dark reason why. And the other reason, as small as it is the first time Mr. Kim was driving Mr. Park home, and he's turning a corner, and there's a shot on Mr. Park's coffee cup not moving at all, and he's just like, oh, your cornering is excellent. That is like perfect show don't tell. It's not like, oh, my coffee cup didn't spill at all and your turning is great. He just says your cornering is excellent.
I agree. I don't know what else to weigh in. Yeah, it's like a movie that like might feel slow, but it's not. Like maybe it should, but it doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like there's so many long shots, but it's like everything is so interesting and everything feels like it serves a purpose, so it doesn't feel slow.
Yeah, and I think that is probably primarily because I read that he storyboarded the whole thing. So every shot was planned out in advance. There was no coverage shooting after, like... And
there was no coverage shooting, really?
Apparently.
Okay.
Which is pretty damn impressive.
Yeah.
And shows the attention to detail.
Exactly. Let's see. I know that none of the characters are really like morally perfect, or like you shouldn't be rooting for any of them. But do you guys have like favorite characters, like people you think are like the most entertaining, or you connect the most to? Or?
I love the daughter.
That's what I was gonna say.
Jessica's great.
Also, she's hot.
Well, I was gonna say, I feel like she's so talented in so many different things.
She is.
That it's like if she was born into that family, like she would have been so successful. And
no,
it's, like,
exactly.
it's so sad.
See, exactly.
Because I don't want to say that the rest of the family isn't talented, but like she just has like some really standout talented abilities. You know what I mean? And like the way that she deceived the family was like more. I know that some of it was luck, but it was like more impressive to me.
Yeah.
And it's like
I agree.
She could have just gone so far, but
no, exactly.
It's circumstance.
And the family says that too. They're like, oh my god, she would have been whatever, the best whatever, like con artist or whatever.
Yeah.
Which first of all, I'm like, she is right now. But anyway. Photoshop queen.
Yeah. Another, I guess the second question I had for you guys is, what do you guys think the Scholar Rock means? Because I think I have a pretty firm opinion on what the rock means, but I'm interested to hear your interpretations.
Okay, well, I was reading, it is like I believe it's called like a sosuk, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, I'm sorry, in Korean, and Bong Joon-ho's father collected them, because it's like a scholar rock or whatever, and they kind of explain like what it symbolizes in the movie, but I also read that he didn't tell, oh shit, I forget his name, the dude who plays Kevin, he didn't tell him what it means, he just told him take care of it, which I think you can tell from the character, like when he saves it from their house after it's flooding. But what does it mean? I mean, like so much. I don't know.
Jaden, what do you think?
I don't know. I just remember thinking back that it was kind of like, it was like a little bit of a patronizing gift.
Oh,
Like-
it
Because it's like,
absolutely
yeah,
was.
she goes, well, food would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
It's
know.
funny.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think?
I don't know, this time around, I kind of realized that The Rock doesn't have a lot of layers to it. Because, I mean, like Claire said, when it's first given, it's like for good luck. It's like my father or grandfather's been collecting these since the war.
Yeah, it's supposed to
and
bring wealth.
It's supposed to bring wealth. And, like, it's such a superstitious thing. But in reality, it didn't really do anything because the Kim family had all this potential all along.
Exactly.
And they weren't able to unlock it until Kevin was offered the position of the tutor, and then they all started invading the Park family. It's like The Rock didn't really do anything. At the very least, it was just like kind of like a more mental thing. Like, we have this, so we have good luck. And I feel like it just kind of improved their attitudes, if anything.
Yeah, it really is like about the power of superstition and mythology, especially like in the U.S. It's not so. I don't think we have such rooted like superstition in our country. So I think it's a super interesting addition, especially when finding out that it has personal meaning to Bong Joon-Ho, which apparently he says he doesn't care about them at all.
Really? Okay, yeah.
And like I love your point that you brought up, Jaden, about how like they don't need it. It doesn't do anything for them. Like she was like, food would be nice instead. Because literally, it's. I also think it is about like how rich people think about poor people and like
Yeah, and at the end of the day,
poor people
yeah.
don't. Yeah, sorry. Not that they don't have time, but like they don't have time to just sit and appreciate some art or save up and buy a really piece of expensive art.
Yeah,
Like,
or at least the Kim family especially doesn't.
exactly. Yeah.
At the end
Anyway.
of the day, it's really just like the opportunity that gave them the chance. And
Exactly.
they're not given like they were just happened to be given an opportunity. It wasn't The Rock that did it for them.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And building off that, I honestly thought the deepest thing about The Rock in the movie is the fact that it's almost a murder weapon at the end.
Oh, I mean,
It's like-
almost. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Because the fact that like The Rock, it's there for opportunity, it's there for good luck to like improve their motivation, everything, but it doesn't actually do anything. It's just there for decoration, if you will. And then it isn't actually used in the plot or like as a plot device until the end when Kevin's almost fucking killed by it. And maybe I'm reading into it too much, but also this movie has so many layers, so
No, I don't
I
think
think
you
this
are.
interpretation is completely valid. But I think that the fact that the Scholars Rock killed him kind of is symbolic
Oh, yeah.
of how they didn't actually deserve the Rock, or they used the opportunity and the motivation from the Rock, and they just became just like the rich people. It's like they trashed the house.
Exactly.
They killed the housekeeper and tied up the housekeeper's husband. Just to keep the Kim's house. So at the end of the day, they're no better than these other families, and they don't really deserve the opportunity that The Rock brings. So it almost kills him.
Also,
Yeah.
like when the new housekeeper kicks the old housekeeper down the stairs,
Oh
it's
my
like so
God.
metaphorical because she's taking the opportunity and she's like hurting someone else to keep the opportunity.
Yeah, it's a dog eat dog world in this movie.
And the
Yeah.
stairs, she has to go. Yeah, she dies when she hits the bottom of the stairs.
And yet another example of like, well, actually two of crossing the line. One, she's kicking her back down there, and also like the characters. They could have stopped like halfway when maybe one or two of them had the job, and they could have been cruising
And they just kept
cruising
going.
forever, and they crossed the line and took advantage.
Well, and my thing was like that's also like the thing. Like when the driver got fired, I didn't really care. I was like, he's like a dick. But the housekeeper seemed like she was
Yeah.
nice and she was like doing her job
And
really
she's
well.
been there
She,
for
she- oh,
generations.
yes, she's been there longer than both families. Like,
And also, yeah, like I think it's all summed up when she's talking when they first like find them in the basement, and the old housekeeper is talking, and she's like, first of all, calling her sis and stuff like that in the subtitles and the translation, and she's saying like, we're both needy, like we have common ground here, like come on, and then obviously
Yeah, and it's like I think it's interesting
they're
that the
like, no,
audience
we're not.
all like I feel like everyone collectively like feels like when the first three get the job, but then when they start trying to set up like the last woman to get the job, I feel like the audience all collectively knows like that's where the line is.
Yeah,
Like, now you're taking
yeah.
it from this woman.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
it's like the first two weren't even taking anything from anyone. Really.
No,
were
they
just
weren't.
getting jobs.
Yeah, and the housekeeper did absolutely nothing wrong. They just like gave her like they just put peach fuzz on her face. Like,
Well, she did
gave-
hide a man in their basement unknowingly.
True, but again,
I'd be pretty mad.
yeah, but at the same
I
time
didn't know that.
Yeah.
but they're doing that and
Exactly.
leeching off of the Park family, which is
No,
also
yeah.
exactly what the Kims are doing. So like,
I don't really
mean,
blame her
it's
for
obviously not morally good, but
I
everyone
know.
in this movie is that's what the movie title means. Everyone in this movie is a parasite off of each other, whether
Yeah.
it's for food, for money, for cleanliness. Everyone's leeching off each other.
Oh, it's so good.
Any other questions or discussion points you guys want to bring up?
What else do we think?
This movie's just so good.
Also, I just kind of had a realization. Forgot to mention that the soundtrack gives me life. The music, the original score in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's so pretty.
I have another fun fact
Did they
about
win any
that.
awards for that?
No.
I don't think so.
Undeservedly, they got nothing. At least nothing in America.
I believe the credits scene song, the song over the credits, was written, I think, like, by Bong Joon-Ho. Like, he wrote the lyrics and stuff. And I read some quote, he was like, guys, please do this on karaoke so I can make some money from it. I'm like, dog, this man is so funny.
Yeah, when you were reading that, did you see any, like, did they describe a reason for including that song in the credits? Because I remember I was watching through the credits, and I was just still sitting in the movie. Like, and every time I was like,
dead shot.
Oh, it's always so good. And then the credits start, like physically rolling, and then there's, like, this country folk song playing. I was like, this is, what?
Yeah, written by him. I don't know. It's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I have to think about it. Because it is so funny.
I'm sure if we knew what the lyrics meant or got like an English translation, we'd probably be more familiar. But like just in terms of vibe, just the fact that it transitions from also the song, like when they're going through like the main credits, like directed by Bong Joon-Ho, produced, et cetera, the main credits, the piano song over that is also the same piano song that's used in the opening scene, which I think is, I haven't quite like figured out any interpretation, but I think it's really beautiful, like how they play at very beginning and very end. And then the transition from the beautiful piano to the folk, in terms of vibes, I could not tell you.
Yeah, he's saying it was his first time writing lyrics. Please sing it at karaoke. Bruh, this is the worst article ever. I was expecting so much, and it's literally one paragraph giving me nothing.
I hate when that happens.
Like, literally one, this is the entire article.
It's like a Yahoo Answers
Thanks,
type
Vulture.
thing. Vulture, no.
It's sung by the Sun also. So.
Oh.
Slay.
Choi Woo-shik.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Isn't that cool? So clearly it has some meaning. It seems like he's kind of just having fun.
Yeah.
Which, good for him. He seems to be having so much fun all the time.
Yeah.
At some point, somebody asked him, like, oh, do you think this is your best movie? And he's like, my next one is, I hope. So honestly, we should probably be expecting that relatively soon.
Mickey 7.
Yeah, he's been writing it.
Yeah, Mickey 7 is currently slated for March 2024.
Oh
my God.
How did you know this? Oh my God, I'm so excited.
There's a trailer out.
What?
It's like a 30-second teaser. Yeah, it's
Oopsie.
a sci-fi movie with Robert Pattinson.
Oh, wait, okay, I've seen this, but I didn't know it was him. Now I'm even more excited.
idea.
Yeah, it's this one.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
no.
I did see this.
I've heard of this.
Okay, I saw
Yeah.
this, and I did not know that
Why
was
do I feel
him.
like this information was in the back of my head.
I'm excited because for one
I'm
thing,
so
he's
excited.
directing and writing, and everything he writes and directs is awesome.
Robert Pattinson is awesome.
Yeah, the cast also includes Stephen Yeun, Toni Collette, and Mark Ruffalo, who have from what I've seen never missed. And
Yeah,
it's
pretty
shot
much.
by Darius Kanji. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He's shot a lot of great movies. Like off the top of my head, he shot Seven. He shot Amour by Mikael Haneke. I think he
Okay,
shot
this
Uncut
is gonna be
Gems
good.
too. Yeah, so really, pretty much my only stipulation with the movie is I prefer Bong's South Korean movies far to his English movies. Because don't get me
I
wrong,
agree.
I enjoy Snowpiercer and I enjoy what I've seen of Okja, but they do not compare to Parasite, The Host, or Memories of Murder for me.
Yeah.
It's kind of
I'm
a topic where
intrigued.
I think we should do Uncut Gems on this podcast.
I think we absolutely should because I think it's a masterpiece, and Jaden has some feelings.
I think it's fine.
I feel like I'm in the
Yeah, but
middle. I'm in the middle of you
Solid
two.
You're
on
biased,
or
bro.
3.5
You're
star.
literally biased.
Okay, but even if it wasn't Adam Sandler, I still don't think I'd like it.
I don't believe you.
I think we both
I'd
have.
like it more, but not I wouldn't like it.
We both have Safdie bias. Like I feel like you have a bias for Uncut Gems. I have a little bias for Good Time, and for
hate
different
Good Time.
different
I don't
reasons.
like
don't
Good
want
Time.
To. I don't want to see Good Time.
I like
It's
parts.
so mid. It's insane.
I like parts of Good Time, but
Exactly.
we'll get into this in like another episode if we ever talk about it. But like specifically as someone who's neurodivergent on the autism spectrum,
It's
I really,
fucked.
really do not like the way they treated Benny Safdie. Like first off, the way they casted Benny Safdie, and also the way they treat his character really, really bothers me.
I'm like,
never
why do
really
people
loved
love
that
this?
movie.
Dude, everybody, I'd only heard good things. I was so excited to watch it. I watched it. I was like,
It's like
this was weird.
it's like,
I think-
I just don't want to.
I
You
think,
don't need
yeah.
to.
I think parts of the movie are phenomenal. I think it has a really great
I think
ending.
it
There's
looks
some
really
really
good.
good chase scenes, and the performances
The
on a
acting
technical
is-
level
yeah.
are amazing. But the screenplay is not something that emotionally connects to me. There's a lot of plot points I think just don't make any sense.
and like,
as I already mentioned, Benny Safdie's.
pedophilia?
Yeah. Oh, that fucking.
Like, I was like, huh?
Yeah. When Robert Pattinson has sex with a 16-year-old.
What the
Yeah, that's
fuck?
disgusting. Yeah.
What did that add to the movie?
No, I know.
What
Literally
did
nothing.
that add?
Always a
Anyway,
choice.
It's
yeah.
like, yeah, and then we already talked
I-
about Benny Safdie's terrible casting,
Bruh.
but yeah, Safdie brothers, talk about another time, I suppose.
Yeah, Good Time, completely missable.
Yeah.
All right.
Mid.
But back to Parasite. What did we rate this, guys?
Give
Guys, this is a fucking 5 out of 5.
Yeah, I give it,
think everybody gave
10
it
out of
5
10,
If you
5
know
out of
that,
5,
5 out of 5.
A plus.
If you give this anything
Roger Ebert,
lower
great
than
movie.
a 4.5, like, I think something's wrong with you.
I think this is my first ever 10 out of 10 on the podcast.
Oh my god,
Really?
wait, maybe. I probably had a 10 out of 10.
It is also my first 10 out of 10 on the podcast. It's also my first movie on the podcast.
It's a fucking 10
so.
out of 10.
10 out of 10.
I'm trying to see, do I even follow anyone who has it less than a 10 out of 10? I'm trying to see. Or
Yeah, actually, wait.
maybe like
good
bad
question.
ratings. I'm trying to
I
see.
maybe have like a 4.5 out of
Even
5.
that, I don't really get, but I'll allow
I don't
it.
get it, but that's passable.
I
in
guess
my
you
mind.
could pick enough little tiny things.
I remembered one.
4.5 out of 5.
Oh,
First off, I mean, I think she's a little bit. I'm gonna try and keep my opinions. I think she's a little egotistic, but also she's a really, really smart person. Like as she says in her bio, she's the 4 least expert on trans representation in film. So I have a lot of respect for her. But I feel like sometimes, like specifically in Parasite. So for starters, she gave Parasite a 2 out of 10. And
you're racist, I think.
I feel like no, because for one thing, she's so. I feel like I don't know. She knows a lot more about like class consciousness and the politics behind the movie, but having read the review, for one thing, I feel like she's kind of ignoring the fact that she's watching a movie. She's expecting like political perfection from this movie.
Yeah,
and like it doesn't
what?
get
It's a
everything.
movie.
I remember. I think at one point I remember in a review I don't know if this will be in the podcast or not. If I feel like it probably should be in the podcast just for our own discussion though. I think I
I'll
remember.
probably just cut out her name.
Okay, yeah,
Or tell Carmen.
yeah. Yes.
Huh?
Tell Carmen.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Well, she's hearing it. Hey, Carmen.
Carmen. You're so cool.
Hey, Carmen.
Yeah. Yeah, there was one piece of the movie where she criticizes the movie for kind of like not I'm trying to think of the word, not glorifying the Kim family because she thinks that like acts of violence against the rich are justified for that reason alone.
But like, come on.
yeah.
That's not realistic.
Exactly.
That's not.
No, it's like as much as I respect her writing, I feel like she's too focused on, or she kind of forgets the fact sometimes that she's watching a movie, which to a certain point is meant to be art and entertainment.
Also, like, it's supposed to be real. It's
Exactly.
supposed to be fucking real.
Yeah, and this is based on Bong's own experience. It's also
Exactly.
it's also the South Korean socio-political climate and not the United States
Exactly.
socio-political
I don't
climate.
know anything about this person, so
I'll tell you more after the podcast.
I don't know. Like,
But that
you know,
makes me think of like earlier when I was like, I can't believe that he was able to afford the medical bills after getting his head crushed. I'm like, maybe that's just America. Maybe it would be easier for him to get a surgery and a life-saving surgery in another country.
It's a good question, but yeah, I disagree with that critique, or like I don't like it.
Yeah.
In my little letterboxd, I'm a little concerned at some 4s, but I'll allow it. Everything else is 5, and then this one person who I don't know, like, but he liked one of my reviews and followed me, so I followed back because like it's letterboxd.
Yeah.
He gave it a 2.5.
For
No
what?
review though.
Unfollow.
Yeah, literally.
Unfollow.
But then also he liked a bunch of 5-star reviews, so I'm confused.
No. And then I follow a joke account that gave it 2 out of 10, but for like funny reasons.
Yeah.
It's the stupidest review ever, but.
Dog.
Anyway.
Yeah, I genuinely don't understand if you don't like this. I genuinely don't.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I honestly think a little bit lower of you if you do.
Like,
Damn.
It's like, I understand it's not the funniest type of movie, but I feel like it still demands respect.
It demands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't say it's objectively a bad movie in any stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Objective is always so interesting when it comes
It's
to movies.
I mean objectively, like in terms of like filmmaking and how well it's
no,
made.
no,
Like
I
as far
agree.
as like being like a cinematic experience, you can't call it a bad experience.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. I think that's it for this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Josh, thank you so much for coming on.
Of course.
Episode.
Yeah.
It was
I
a joy
had
having you.
I had a great time. I hope I'm here again.
Mm-hmm. Our first guest, but not our last. Yeah. Real. More
have
guests
more guests
coming
coming
soon.
down the line.
Josh will be appearing in another episode.
Yay!
Probably over the summer
Awesome.
at some point. Mm-hmm.
Slay.
Mm-hmm.
Look forward to maybe Ponyo. Ponyo?
Yeah. Oh.
Ponyo,
dropping it here,
ponyo,
maybe.
fishy in the sea. I
Or
forgot
sometime in
the
the future.
rest of the words.
Ponyo.
All right. So good night.
Good night. We love you.
Good night. Goodbye.
Don't let the bad bugs bite.